Call the regular Sunnyvale 4B Economic Development Board meeting to order for Tuesday, the 14th of June, 2022 at 5:35 p.m. All members present except members Nair, Lashane, and Pat Manabon will be here. Pat Manabon will be here in a couple of minutes. First order is public comment. 4B Board of Directors invites citizens to address the board on any matter except items on the agenda and public hearings that are included in the agenda. Comments related to the agenda on the agenda. Public hearings will be heard when the specific item starts. Citizen comments limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise required by law. To address the board, please fill out the comment card or raise your hand online. Please present. Anybody online? Nobody for public comment. Next, we would like to invite our new town manager to step forward and introduce himself. So.
There we go. Is that good? All right. Thank you, President Weiss and board members. My name is Jeff Jones. I'm the new town manager. This is officially my second week on the job. Actually, started June the 1st, so fairly new on the job. I'm excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity. I just want to come and introduce myself, and so you could put a face with a name and let you know just a little bit about myself. I've been in local government for going on 30 years. Spent most of my career over in the Tarrant County side, working for the city of Hurst as an assistant city manager for just under 20 years. Went to the city of Mesquite in 2016, where I served as assistant and then later deputy city manager. And then headed south to the Houston area. I was the president and general manager of the Woodlands before coming up here to the town of Sunnyvale. So it's good to be back in DFW. Good to be back in Eastern Dallas County, an area where I'm fairly familiar with, especially after spending 4.5 years at the city of Mesquite. And I was very active in the Mesquite Rotary Club, so had a chance to network with a lot of Sunnyvale residents through that civic organization as well. So happy to be here. I appreciate the time. I know you have a full agenda, but I just wanted to come say hi and introduce myself, and appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate all the hard work that y'all do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome. So look forward to having you around for many years. Next, discuss, consider, and act upon the minutes from May 10, 2022 meeting. So everybody had an opportunity to review. Get a motion to approve. Motion made by Pat Manabon,
I'll second.
seconded by member Chase. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Next, discuss, consider, and act upon the May 2022 financial reporting and related items.
Good evening. We'll start here first with the 4B financials as of May 31st, 2022. We had revenues of $151,637, month-to-date expenses of $20,296. That brings your year-to-date totals for revenues to $847,403, and your year-to-date expenses $473,308. Sales tax recorded year-to-date is $885. That is 2 months accrual and 6 months actual. Year-to-date interest earned is $6,518. Your year-to-date expenses total $473,308, and your month-to-date expenses included your routine payroll, the monthly landscape maintenance, marketing alliance for the EDC website project. We paid for half of the deposit on the umbrella shade at Vineyard Park, the routine turf grass treatment at the parks, and some training expenses for the EDC director. As of May the 31st, 2022, you had net revenues of $374,095, bringing your total fund balance to $3,393,555. Happy to answer any questions you might have on those.
Noticed it looked like our sales tax was the highest spike so far.
It was, that was our largest receipts year to date. It is also the end of a quarter. Those are actual sales tax receipts as of the end of March. So typically we do see a little bit more when it is the end of a quarter.
That's still just pretty impressive
Yes.
year over year. Now, take inflation into account, but that's still not that large of a.
Yes.
So we're almost at budget for the year.
You are
already.
almost right at your budget for the year.
Any other questions on the May financials?
Without naming names, can you give us an idea about where this increase comes from?
Well, that information we would have to get from the comptroller's office, and you can request that information, but and we have in the past. It is just a big data dump is really what it is. And it is just, I mean, it is a ton of information, and it takes quite some time to go through there and try to pull out. The information is confidential, so we really couldn't share other than to say something like it might be related to construction, it might be related to, new businesses. So we're somewhat limited, on the information that we can share on that. It does
So some-
require a public information request from the town manager to the comptroller's office to request that information.
It would give us some direction
Mhm.
with respect to future choices of, what businesses are coming in and generating all this extra.
We can certainly put in a request for it.
But I mean, if it's a lot of work, then
Well, we can request the information and then take a look at it and see just what all it entails to get maybe a little bit more detail for your information.
I'd say if it keeps going, then maybe we revisit that.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Any other questions on May? Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Number 3, discuss, consider, and approve the proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year budget.
Okay, this is an item that we had brought before the board. I believe it was back in March. We kind of outlined what we were going to be looking to do for the 22-23 budget. And so we're ready now to put something together to present to council for approval as we go through the budget process. I'm going to try to just kind of touch on those line items that we changed from March. The top in your revenue section, the big one is going to be your sales tax receipts. Because the portion that's allocated to 4B is predicated on what is budgeted in the general fund. The sales tax receipts actually come into the general fund, and then distribution is made to 4B. Based on what we're budgeting for the general fund for sales tax receipt, that portion for 4B, we have budgeted now at $1,183,333 for next year. And that is based on, for the general fund, what we did is we took an average of the current year annualized, and we applied a 3% increase to that number to get to the number that we're budgeting for the general fund, and in turn, that portion that belongs to 4B. The other item that we added to revenues for 4B is that part of the Dallas County agreement we have for the Rails to Trails project. It is a reimbursable grant. And so as that money is spent, we can submit to Dallas County for reimbursement. We are budgeting $860,000 down in the expenses. So we are budgeting $430,000 as an offset to that. Don't know that we will spend all $860,000, but we hope to be able to offset. It's not an automatic process. Once we submit those invoices, it does take a little while before Dallas County does reimburse us. It does have to get put on the Dallas County agenda. It does have to be approved, and then a check has to be generated, before we receive our reimbursement. So that's the other item for revenue for 4B. That brings your total proposed budget revenues to $1,621,633. Going now down through your expenses, there weren't any changes really to the wages and salaries. Your labor and benefits stayed the same. We did receive notice from our current landscape maintenance provider for the Four Corners that they were going to seek a 16% increase in the contract. So that line item does reflect that increase. So from $13,000 current year budget to $14,500 for next year. Down in your planning line item, we did not budget anything for this year because we have finished the parks concept planning that we were working on. However, there is a supplemental that Burton will speak to here in a little bit, that if that is approved by council or it is something that the board wants to move forward with, that would roll into your budget. The other item is your transfers out of indirect costs. That is the amount that 4B transfers into the general fund in support of the parks budget. That is budgeted to be 33% of the parks budget. We are still finalizing that budget. So right now, based on the numbers that we currently have put together, we have a budget budgeted that line item at $247,116, and that is 33% of the current parks budget. But again, that's not a final number. I'm sure everyone's aware of the fuel costs out there. And so the parks budget does have a line item for fuel as well as some utilities. And we are still seeing those numbers changing, week to week and month to month. So we haven't really finalized those numbers yet. So there is a possibility that that number could increase just slightly. The only other item, again, that I highlighted here was just your Rails to Trails. We are budgeting that full cost, $860,000. It is offset by that accounts receivable from Dallas County up in your revenues. So based on current year's budget, which is really all we have to use for the budgeting process, we had budgeted to have a ending fund balance of $1,956,171. That was budgeted. Here we are, 8 months into the year. Quite obviously, you can see by looking at the financials that your current fund balance is higher than that. So by the time the year actually ends, it will be greater than that 1,000,005 that we have on this. But for the purpose of budgeting, we have to go with the budgeted numbers. So based on that, with $1,621,000 in revenues and $2,525,000 in expenses, that would leave you a proposed ending fund balance at the end of 2023 of $1,052,000. Again, that is all predicated on 100% of your current year budgets coming to pass and 100% of your current year expenses coming to pass, which we know, quite likely we're not going to hit 100% of those expenses just based on where we are on some projects. So I'm happy to answer any questions. This is something that we will now present to town council for approval, but what we need is either direction from the board members if you want to make any changes to this before we present it to council. And if not, then you would approve it as presented pending council approval. Not currently, no.
Okay, so is that something that,
We don't anticipate there to be a change to that item.
that you do under parks fuel, but not under,
Right. And that really, yeah, that is not really, the line item reads car mileage allowance is really a car allowance. But currently we are not anticipating an increase to that. Wages and salaries do have an increase fact built into that budget, and that is right now a proposed 5% increase.
The 3% on the sales tax receipts, how was that calculated? And the increase, was that just overall based on projections or current?
Based on projections for the new year. So
So it's always
total
weird.
sales tax actually being budgeted for the town, which is we receive 2% of sales tax. 1.5% goes to the general fund. The other 0.5 goes to, but the other 0.5% is what is allocated to 4B. So total sales tax, if you take what we're budgeting for 4B at 1.183 million, the general fund is actually budgeting $3.5 million. So it's a fairly big increase over the current year budget.
a couple years down the road, if we keep having these spikes, then we get adjusted. It's always weird doing this because you have to go off of the current budget, even though your bank account's substantially larger. You're
Yes.
assuming that it's not going to be at the end. The first few times I did, I'm like, what?
Well, it seems like we're
We're not
always,
gonna be in the hole, you know?
it seems like we're always conservative budgeting for the sales tax income.
Right.
You seem to I think every year that I've been here, we've surpassed what budget was. It's better than the alternative.
And then the
Yes.
budgeting of expenses is always, you have to assume you're gonna spend 100% of it.
Exactly.
I've never seen it.
never do.
I guess it could happen.
That would be ideal, but
The promotional services that you budgeted at 85,000, if you look at the run rate, why is it 85? And the run rate is,
$85,000 is based on, for promotional services, you can only budget that to be at 10% or less of your projected revenues. So you could budget higher, a larger number there, but historically, the 4B budget, we haven't spent it.
yeah, that's,
But we could raise that to be, what, $118,000. You could actually budget it to be, yeah, it really needs to be just based on the sales tax receipts. So you could increase that budget, and make it a little bit
but
higher.
I don't know what the promotional services are.
Oh,
Can some-
I'll let Burton talk about those items there.
So, I mean, essentially, we have some subscription services right now with, as far as the industrial up here, we're looking for a tenant, helping to try to find tenants. So we had a membership to that. We've got another subscription that goes towards companies that are mid-sized companies that are looking to relocate from out of state. There's any kind of mapping, things like that we would do. I know we're getting ready to move forward on some things. I've got a couple of proposals, but we haven't, I know in the past, I believe the prior EDC directors went and did some promotionals, maybe some trade shows, stuff like that. That's all of anything meant to promote the community. That's where that's going to go.
Okay.
Website, yes, sir.
Yeah, we printed folders at one point, did some promotional products with the EDC logo on it. Those sort of things to promote development in the town.
No, the reason I asked that question was 21, 22, we had budgeted 85,000. We used under 20,000. And then I was just, if we budgeted, we should try to use it.
Well, it's one of those. I understand what you're saying, but we're not in the use it or lose it.
Yeah.
Like when I was in the military, if you didn't use it, you lost. it.
No, I know, I understand.
Fortunately,
But it-
we're not in that, but the, one of the reasons it grew to the number it was because of revamping the website, doing a bunch of other stuff. We hadn't finalized all that yet.
No, but if it's creating goodwill for the community, I think it's okay to use it.
Right.
I guess it's how aggressively we want to be marketing to potential, companies coming into Sunnyvale.
Brakes on. So we did our powwow again with the town council to refocus,
Mhm, mhm.
hopefully, with proper use of that budget. Track what we're looking for.
So for
To your point, if we're not going to use it, we could redirect it to something.
Something else.
prior year, you spent right at about $20,000 as of May the 31st on your May financials. You spent,
It's not,
yeah,
yeah, it's not, yeah.
you spent just about $14,000.
Mhm.
When we were looking at web services and stuff, feels like 3 years ago, but it was probably what, a year ago. It was a range of 15,000 to 75,000. I think that's part of the reason the budget was 85, because we didn't know. what to do. And now y'all have finalized.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at it tonight, yeah.
It would be nice to kind of touch base once we've used it a little bit longer to see how some of these memberships have actually performed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's two that I know of specifically that we may not renew. And they're not big ticket items either, but there are some other spaces that are gonna be coming online that may be looking for tenants, and once they have tenants, I can't see why we would keep those, but until then, I take a lot of phone calls from developers and brokers and trying to find space requirements for people. And so we do get some leads. We also get leads from the state. It's, a lot of them are not matches, but some of them are. So it's just information sharing is really what you're paying for.
So the other thing that under town beautification dropped from 50 to 25. Where would our contribution to the whatever gets done in traffic circle go? And then once the power poles go up, that's where we've been holding off on purchasing a lot of this stuff. Was once the power was run, the poles were up, we were planning on investing in a lot of that stuff. So it seemed weird reducing it.
Well, I
if we're
think
getting
that,
closer.
yeah, the thought was that would be expended this year. I think it was the intent for those light poles to be up and the banners to have already been purchased for those. So really, that would be considered a lapse appropriation. And if that doesn't come to pass by the end of this fiscal year, when we do look at roll forwards for those lapse appropriations, that would be a dollar amount that we had allocated for that we could roll forward into this next year's budget.
Okay. so we
And
can add it
typically
on
we
top
look
of
at
it.
that usually, I think this year we were trying to maybe see if we could do it in December, but if not December, then in January. We have to have an opportunity to process all invoices that are applicable to, a 9/30, fiscal year end date. And once we do that and we're confident that, we've paid all the bills, then we'll look at rolling forward those lapse appropriations.
Yeah, so we don't
Yeah.
budget it twice. Okay. Then where's the question on the traffic circle? Where's that fall?
That is going to be a supplemental that Burton's going to talk about here in a minute.
See it in red up there for 60-ish or something. That's different. That's money.
It should be in there.
So where the reds are that say supplement 60 for monument signage plan, 15 for strategic plan, that's 75.
That's 75, but there should also have- in here, but there should have been one also for the monument signs. That was roughly at 300. Yeah, not the monument signs, but the artwork to go in the roundabout. And that was for $300,000.
So where does
But
that go?
they're not budgeted because they're what we call supplemental. So they're not your regular base budget items. So they're really for the board to talk about, to see if you want to keep them as a supplemental. They'll be presented to council as such. And if they're approved at that time, they'll be added to your budget. I think maybe, Burton, we might have left that one off because of the irrigation issue in the circle.
Yeah, so we have, as you all know, we've been working, trying to get proposals for the irrigation for the medians. You may see the little PVC. We had some, JD had a company do some verifying, making sure the sleeves were there. The sleeves are there. But currently there's not a 1-inch tap in the roundabout like it was supposed to be. So at this point, nor are the sleeves connected to all those islands up there. So we did get a bid for that project, but it was also based on that tap and those sleeves being in place. So we're not sure how much it's going to affect our, a contractor bid the job based on certain knowledge or information, and then that information's changed. So we would expect that cost to go up. So until we know we can get water up there, if we were going to plant ornamental grass or anything, any type of landscaping, we can't do that without the water. So
So maybe this isn't the time to ask that question. So if it was in the, is there any recourse back to that? It's not.
probably not.
So it's either hardscape it or swallow hard. And
We're just, the first,
drill the water drill or whatever they call it.
yeah, they would have to bore. We're still figuring that out. So. But
So do we need to review the supplementals before we go over the rest approved?
Yeah, there are 2 other supplementals there that Burton can speak to. So y'all can either approve it with your changes or as presented and then make a decision on the supplementals, or you can let him talk about the supplementals and then make one decision.
y'all want to run through these? It's just actually 3.
Right. Well, yeah, I think we held off on the artwork and the roundabout because of the fact that
And just so you all know, I mean, our supplementals for the entire town, everyone, all the supplementals go together. And then, there may be different funding sources, but those decisions will be made based on funding. I think that's the easiest way to explain it. So this first supplemental is the monument sign, the conceptual design. I know we talked about this. It's been a minute when we had the joint meeting. We talked about a theme. We talked about wait until the fire station and Glacier and all those things were done before we decided what to do. This is, if you all remember, we had the UDO would need to be amended to reflect something that looks more like Sunnyvale and not what's in the UDO. So this would be, this was a proposal that we got some time back that would provide the kind of the meetings, gathering people together, facilitating the meeting, the design services, and then any kind of guidelines that would need to be recommended to council to change the UDO. You know, if down the road there is, I believe, there's another part of that that would have to come at a later date. But if you did go with a full-blown monument or entryway signage, you start getting into some right-of-way acquisitions, you get into things like that. But this portion would kind of organize everyone, get feedback from people, present some concepts, just like we just finished with the concept plans. And then any design elements, if you want it lit, if you want it irrigated, things like that. Is there any questions on that one?
So these would be for the, is it the three main areas we've talked about?
Yeah, this could be anywhere you want it to be.
Prairie.
Yeah, and I know at one point in time we talked about, I know, remember Anthony, you had brought up the fact that we needed some cohesive signage and messaging type things. And, you know, this would be a way that you could kind of, you could get that going with your signage. Everything would be uniform. As far as where they go, certainly anything that they might propose out on 80 is probably out for a while since they're getting ready for that project. But, you know, just taking into account areas like down by Barnes Bridge and Collins, you're going to have some right of way things that you're going to have to work with. You're going to have franchise utilities that you're going to have to work around, gas lines, things like that. So this, you know, this would be the first step in that. And like I said, scheduling the meetings, getting people together, getting input, getting council, getting you all together and just kind of working through some of it.
Yeah, my initial thought is it's really expensive for what it is, as far as, you know, they're basically coming up with an overall look or positioning sort of for the town. It just seems like a lot. I mean, I do think we need to do it because it's better to have a cohesive look in place. My other concern is, though, we do these sort of things a lot and then there's no good way to manage them being to make sure that they're implemented properly in the future. So we could have this and then, you know, we have a different council or a different 4B and then they end up doing this all over again. So that seems to be kind of a pattern. Those are my two concerns. One, it's expensive. Two, do we do it and then we don't actually use it?
Yeah, ultimately, whatever, you know, to make those design changes, ultimately, town council would have to approve the amendment to the UDO. And then from that point forward, you know, it would memorialize it for anyone moving forward. So,
Was this the only quote that you guys got?
so this one was, we had several starts and stops with this where it looked like we were moving forward. We got a quote. You know, we didn't move forward with it. We tapped the brakes on everything. And so, you know, there may be some opportunities out there, but this was the one that we received back. So this is the one we went with in terms of for a placeholder for a budget conversation. But you know, if you all approve it and there's another alternative out there, I'll find it. So
But, you know,
You
do a
see,
lot of design center work. And it's-
the hourly rates seem to be quite reasonable, but I think the broader issue is the one that was raised. If we do spend it, are we going to make sure that we realize the value from it? Right? If we get all these designs,
Make sure we get what now? I'm sorry.
we get value out of it, right? You could spend and get everything you want from consulting, but are we going to actually use it and realize value from it?
Yeah, that would be up to, I mean, like I said, council would have to approve the amendment to the UDO, but I mean, if we get into this that deep, certainly council's going to be a part of those decisions. So between the two, between you all and them, there's going to be, there'll be consensus somewhere.
So if we're going to spend it, we got to make sure that there is a moving forward plan to use those designs and get.
Right.
But the rates are not that high for the type of service we get. If you look at their hourly rates, I think it's very reasonable, right? Because the principal is $2.45 per hour, which is pretty nice, good rate for architects.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you,
No, yeah, this is.
as far as the, you know, the larger firms are going to have higher cost of doing things. So
That was missing it. So on page 21 of 36, it says 33.5. Then on supplemental, so it's 60. Plus 15 for strategic plan.
Wow.
if I remember correctly, the reason the difference is if you look at the dates, this estimate is a year old. I reached out to them and asked them what percentage increase.
50.
So
100, I should
those
say.
different numbers, that's why I was saying this proposal was when we first started, like, when we first started talking about this and, we thought we were moving forward and then we didn't. So,
I still think we need to do it, but I agree with Nikki. It seems steep. But
It's 3 meetings, 3 designs, couple of presentations. Doesn't include 3-dimensional rendering, site plan layouts, or construction details. And somewhere here that I can't find now, but when I read earlier, you know, it also says it doesn't include anything, you know, outside of those sort of monument ideas. Just thinking, you know, what we spent on other things, this seems like a lot more for us.
sounds like everybody is in favor of moving forward with it. We just have to be budget conscious and see it. More in line with a little over a year ago. It was 33.5 to 60.
Well, I'm looking forward at the next supplemental, you know, it's 15 to review or, it's just comparatively.
Update the strategic plan. Good. What's the next supplement?
so the next one was to update the strategic plan. It's more of, you know, basically a third party coming in, trying to get everyone together, leading the conversation. Certainly multiple meetings, trying to get everyone, since it does expire in 23, give us a new plan, new document moving forward to
This is the town's strategic plan, not Parks Master.
No, this is the EDC strategic. Mhm.
Said it expires when?
23. I believe it was 2018 through 23, so 5 years. But, you know, the one we have still has 4A in there as well.
Who did the last one? Was that?
25% of the monument.
I believe that Tracy did it. And I know I wasn't involved with it, but I know some of y'all were. I don't know how many times y'all met over it or how long it took. Do y'all remember?
Took a bit.
Did it take a year?
I'm sure it did. Everything takes a year.
I looked back through it, and I think it did because you had 4A, you had 4B, and then you had town council too.
So those are the only two supplementals then?
Well, the other one that's
The other one for the artwork, I believe is what it was for. Is that correct? Yeah. Was significantly higher. I want to say it was in the $300,000 range. But not knowing what they're going to do in the roundabout with the irrigation, don't know that you want to put that on a supplemental.
No, I agree. But
No,
but that was
before,
it.
yeah. That was it.
I think everybody's in agreement, I believe, with the monument. It seems like it would have a little increase in 1 year to go that big of a jump.
Yeah, I mean,
Strategic plan seems reasonable for work that goes into that. Budget to me looks right, once I had the refresher on the roll forward on unused stuff. So we don't budget for it twice. So on the supplemental for the monument, you know, if we say that, if you're able to get it done for 35, great, right? But if we drop it to 35 and everything comes back at 50, we have to go back through approval or something.
if it comes in for less or more.
More.
Yeah, we would, I mean, because it comes in more, we would have to. One thing I was looking at this is the landscape designs option, which on the supplemental, it says it's 19.6. That is an additional, that's if requested. The actual design, the concept designs, the meetings and bringing you plans. That part was originally the 33.5 that came. That would be. Get my calculator, sorry. 9. $40,400 for the conceptual presentation services, the concept designs, and then the landscape design. It kind of gives you another opportunity. If we wanted to move forward, you can. If you don't, then it's less. So it went from 15.5 to 19.6 on just the landscape architecture special services in their proposal.
Okay, so you, in the 60, you totaled these together.
Yes, in case you know,
So it's 49,000, 60,000, it's not 49,000, I mean, 33.
in case you all decided you wanted to move forward.
That makes a difference. So you're doing it. If requested as part of this 60.
Correct.
We could,
So it's
Put it on.
$11,000 more.
Right.
Opposed to- Yeah, that's not as bad. I'm okay with budgeting for it and shooting to save. Opposed to.
I think it's too much. Past it.
We budget for, we're not locked into this company or this particular proposal, which is that.
No, because anytime we do proposals or quotes or anything, they're only good for 90 days. We have to start over.
I think just what I see is, they're gonna throw out some surveys, come up with a couple of designs that may or may not work. And then, to your point,
Pay for revisions. I mean, I know they have one set of revisions in here, but one set of revisions isn't gonna go very far with as many people as. opinions from. Did we budget less? And then
That's what-
Burton can go
so
back
if-
and said they wouldn't approve this amount.
Right. So if we said 45. Then we try to shoot for that in terms of the.
so are we wanting to take it off of the supplemental list and then actually put it into your next year's proposed budget at $45,000 in the planning line for putting together a conceptual design for the monument signage?
Maybe. Can you reduce it as a supplemental, I guess is the question.
We could reduce it as a supplemental and keep it on the supplemental list. We would just have to have some backup to go with it that is in line with that dollar
I see.
amount that we're
So you
presenting.
can
Yes.
use it as a supplemental if it's not budgeted, but we have a quote. Or we can budget for it and then. Seek more quote.
I'm fine with budgeting with it. I think now is the time to be working on it with as much as we've got going on in the town. And I think the process will take a while to complete.
I like that idea. And if that puts it more on everybody to actually do something about it.
Okay, so we could actually change the planning line item in your proposed budget for next year and include $45,000 for the monument concept and add the $15,000 if the board wants for the strategic plan update. And budget $60,000 for that line item.
I like that idea. Questions or? Budget for supplementals? Proposed budget. That just rolls down and adjusts the bottom slightly.
It will adjust your ending fund balance, proposed ending fund balance to just under $1 million. Again, based on where 4B is right now, the actual numbers will be much higher than that.
Like it. So we would just recommend approval. And then council reviews it, right? Or do we-
We recommend it with changes as discussed.
Right, correct.
I make a motion to accept the 4B Economic Development Corporation 2022-2023 proposed budget with changes as discussed.
Motion made by member Anthony. seconded by member Cash. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Next is discuss and consider updates to the following ongoing projects, which is the last page. Summary.
So is it possible to see the revised estimates for the barn?
I can get them, you, like a dollar amount.
Yeah, it's just confusing to me, the 18% material cost, but then it's a 90% above budget.
So the updated, and this was as of the 23rd of May, so it's a couple weeks old. It was for a 10 stall shed row, it was $947,135. So 90%.
Since January.
Yeah, the 90%, the increase is based on what you all had said your comfort level was with that project. So.
That's 90% above.
500,000.
What? Okay. I was just trying to think what the estimate was in January when we got the, well, I guess it was November and then we got the estimate to do more stalls.
Yeah, it was, I want to say it was somewhere, just the barn itself was pretty close to 5. That didn't include anything else. And it was looking more like,
That's the all-in cost, because the barn is like $200-something thousand.
right.
But then the concrete and the utilities and
Yeah, so now a couple of the things is there's, well, it's in there, but the 6-month lead time for the structure. You know, I have been seeing that lumber prices are coming down. Don't know how long that's gonna take. JD and I did meet with the operator last week. We're trying to come up with some different options. So we're still working on it, but we met with him last Wednesday.
so effectively that's on hold, other than receiving more information and pricing out the trails. It sounds like.
Yeah, like I said, we met with him on site out there and walked around, looked at some things, and we're going to try to get some cost estimates on some things to make it better. It's at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to be what we've talked about for a while, but it could be better. I mean, not better than what we've talked about, but better than it is now.
Yeah, I know, the idea of liability has been talked about a lot since we took over the property.
Right.
Rails to Trails, you guys met with Half and Associates.
We did. It looks like, sorry. Bug flying. It looks like with all the infrastructure funds that are available, it's going to be some really good opportunities coming up as far as transportation alternatives with the COG. They're thinking there may be up to $40 million available on that. And then there's just, that call is going to be sometime in August, I believe, with no, actually, that call is going to be in July with a submittal date in early September. And then there's going to be a statewide call that's supposed to come out in August, and the grant submittal would be done in October. And that one, they're looking for large projects in the 10 to 15, in the $10 to $15 million range.
So we're talking about having half help again with the,
Yeah, we're waiting on a proposal to see what it's for grant assistance, because some of those areas for us to submit for the grant, we're going to need access agreements again from the school district. It all has to be papered up. As you all know, we've got Encore has the easement up there on the north end. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of stuff that has to come together in a short amount of time. However, based on our conversation, they are really interested in the Rails Trails project because it closes this eastern loop over here.
well, we came really, really, really close. And it was before you were here. And then it got temporarily shut down. That was before we owned the property. Now we own the property, which was the major hangup back in what, 2017? 16, 17. So
Well, if we're going to be
take advantage of it and drive forward.
we're going to be working on trying to get an RFP out there for design for the project, and then the goal would be if we can get it designed, then effectively it is shovel ready, and then when these grant opportunities come along, we're that much further along. But you know, if you get one of those a grant that size, it would probably come pretty close to building the entire project. And I had, as Phyllis always reminds me, you know, there's a lot of reporting that goes along with these types of things. You know, single audits, things that have to be done. So
Well, we think positively. If our sales tax revenue continues, the budget grows, and have somebody on board to help. Won't be wise with how we spend it. We invest it. Red, white, and boom next weekend. All good for that.
Well, we'll have our final meeting tomorrow to shore up our emergency management program, and we'll be ready to go.
Whether it's still hopefully fine.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If it's hot, we won't stop it. The only thing that'll keep us from not doing it is the access to the fireworks pad is so muddy that we can't get the trucks back there that actually carry the fireworks. That's what stopped us last year.
Questions on ongoing projects? We did request a couple for future agenda items.
Yeah, did we have the playground? You know, we had talked when we did the tour about reconsidering the playground by the library.
Library.
I don't know where we would need to put that on our things to discuss.
I guess that all that's still kind of up in the air, right? Library, rec center, all that.
yeah, I mean, there's money budgeted for that feasibility, but
With the moving of the fire station in the next year.
yeah, December of this year, I think is what
I
they're
think it's a good idea though to bring it back because with the park right there,
Now that the park is nicer, that whole area.
because we had previously approved building an outdoor playground, ADA compliant to integrate with the library and the soccer fields. The fire chief voted no because he said it would be a safety hazard. But if they're not there anymore, bring it back up on our budget.
I think it was, sensitive to kids with sensory issues and that sort of thing as
Sure.
well.
Now, the fire department's not 100% leaving that location, right? The training is still going to be there. They're still going to have trucks in the bays. It'll just be an additional location so that they can cover more neighborhoods. So just, take that into consideration before.
So we need to talk to
We
them
can
again.
still bring it back up. Or any other topics or future agenda items? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Hang on, we got the
Oh, we got
EDC
the budget.
website.
Sorry.
Do you remember what it was with Samuel Farm North? I think it was an update on where we stood with Dallas County. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they did, council did approve the 4 concept plans last night. We didn't bring anything back to y'all because nothing had really changed from the last time y'all saw it. So there was a few things that were discussed, but ultimately I believe everything, there were no substantial changes to anything. So, those items will go on the CIP plan and just like everything else, when money's available, if, we move forward. If not, it's there's at least a concept. So, all right. So y'all ready for the website?
Can I just say something before we move forward on the website thing? The town's website, in my humble opinion, is very difficult to navigate. It's just
I
a
can't
cluster.
When I log in through my company's website, I can't open any documents or anything. I can just read stuff. But if I try to open a PDF, it won't.
If I try to look at the council agenda on my phone, I get somewhere else. That's just one example. And it shouldn't be that hard, but it's just difficult. And I kind of know my way around it. I thought I did. But
You're talking about the drop down menus when you move the arrow and then it closes the
yeah, I guess. I don't know now. It's just, that's my take. That's my takeaway. And I can
Right.
only imagine what the average Sunnyvale resident feels that doesn't get to come up here and say that. And they try to get on there for anything. It's a cluster. Hope I didn't rain on your little pride about our EDC website.
well,
It's easier to navigate.
we do have drop down menus, but and I've got this, like I said, this is, y'all see, I'll kind of scroll through this. The main thing is it's been a minute on this and I wanted y'all to take a look and the pictures, things of all those things can be changed. This right here is really a placeholder. We do have drone footage. We don't have it put together as a banner video yet. I'm still working on that. I've actually looked at some software, see if we might be able to do that ourselves in-house since we actually have the footage and we can piece it together. But there are services out there that will do that, but it is expensive. So anyways, I'll just scroll through some of this. Some of these things are placeholders. There's a place right here for testimonials. At the last time we discussed the target industries, they've changed a little bit from what's in the strategic plan. And this reflects those changes when we had that work session with council. And then down here at the bottom, you can see here, Bahama Bucks open today at Shiralis Plaza. So we do have our social media feeds that are in here.
And this is built on a platform where like you could go in and update the copy and stuff like that.
Yeah, once we, we'll be able to go in and update the copy. Eric and I are gonna do the training that comes along with it to start doing that. I wanted to make sure that make sure we're moving in the right direction before we do that. Because that's kind of a last stop before they say, okay, it's yours. So I'll just click some of these. These areas down here, these are really just placeholders where it talks about add item to report. But each one of these has drop downs.
Is any of that information drillable? Or is it just a summary?
So this one right here, on this one, it's kind of a summary, but there's a different slide. This would be more like your community snapshot, if you will. If you come over to, let's see. Come over to this one. Yeah, I think everything is, I believe everything's one way. There was a lot of, if you notice, I didn't have the development piece in y'all's update and the construction updates because there was too much going on and I didn't want to put something out there that I hadn't verified. So, yeah, I don't know. I had to get with Lyle and talk to him. I was trying to find that. No, this one's not live yet. It's still, it's really just a matter of whatever additional content that needs to be filled in. Like for example, here on the retail profile, you can see where there's a placeholder right here, where that'll be available. Over here on our incentive page, there's a placeholder here for the policy as well as the application.
Yeah, just the general layout, flow, and structure, and how it was. It looks like we still need to add the majority of the content and tighten up the pictures.
So here's what you were asking Tina here about where you can pull different things from on this mapping. The same thing on some of the demographics.
It's better on the website. That was-
Yeah, so like here, you can go to each one of these and a person can go in and they can generate maps. I know on the site selection, I've gone in and added some things about airport information. The intermodal terminal that's over in Mesquite. Here's a placeholder. We talked about having infographics for different things.
15 minutes. Sound like a market.
This is a good one here. You can see the different universities and things that are in the area.
Yeah, I like that it just looks clean and easy.
Right, here's the, degree plans, things of that nature.
I forgot what we budgeted for this, but I know it wasn't much.
8,500.
I have I have a quick question. What is our objective in creating this website? Is it just providing information to anyone about this community, or is it about creating dynamism and trying to kind of expose Sunnyvale in a way that businesses and residents moving in get excited about it? What's our objective? This has information, but
Yeah.
it's not giving me a theme about Sunnyvale,
Right.
economic development, right?
I think first and foremost, the plan was to make it an improvement on what it was, or what it is now. And, if you treat this as your front door, folks, in terms of developers that might be interested, if we've got the information out there, they can easily access that information, whether it's the retail, whether it's the incentive documents. I'll have our strategic plan out there. As far as dynamic, I don't know if this is what it is. It's probably not. This is just trying to make it better, present the information where it's, if this is our front step, it's working for us even when we're not here. People can get the information they want, and if they want further information, then they know how to contact them, get a hold of me.
And it's not for residents or people interested in moving into Sunnyvale. It's for businesses
Yeah,
interested.
So for businesses, I think we have to make it crisp, right? Because when I go into a website, I gotta understand what it's all about, right? Because if you were expecting people to go in and go drill into each one of these and go deeper into getting information, that consumes a lot of time for me. Because I want to go to a website and quickly grasp what I want. And then if I have interest, I will continue to dig deeper into it, right? Because all of us access 15 websites a day to get quick information, right? So there's got to be something that stands out when you get in, that summarizes everything I'm looking for, instead of going through these drop-down window options, right? That kind of website design is quickly fading out. I'm just
Well, based on
bringing it up. That's-
based on the amount of money we had to work with, I mean, there were a lot of other options out there. This one didn't include any copywriting. So
You have the current website, that maybe, I don't know if you've been to that one.
Well, and I think the homepage, with the right pictures, I think can give a sense of what Sunnyvale's like. I mean, right now, a lot of the pictures are just look like placeholder pictures. And then again, if you're seriously interested in Sunnyvale, you're going to contact Burton. So to me, the website's to give them an overview of what Sunnyvale's about. If they want to click through and drill down into all the rest of the information, they can, but I would think that they're at some point going to contact Burton to really start talking about details.
Unfortunately, most of the EDC websites you see are all, they all have that sort of same data with the demographics and the site plans and.
Yeah, but it depends on how much interest I have to drill deeper, right? Here, there's a lot of content for me, even in the one page to absorb, right? But we need to kind of get a feel. That's just my feeling after having worked the website
Well,
for a
and maybe
long time.
once
right?
he
So-
adds the drone footage with the video, depending on what that looks like, and then an updated picture, and then you've got your logo, it might kind of bring
Yeah,
it together more.
And I mean, I think before we started this, the thing is that we have this and there is no information.
I think if the pictures show what we want, like
That one
Bernie
was
has
city
sort of
website.
photos of the types of businesses we're interested in, that conveys a lot.
So this is the current website. It's the same thing with the drop downs. Yeah, they just migrated everything over for now.
Example. First thing you see is on sites. And then the other one, first thing you see in the hospital, is go make the primary photos match up with the. Track. Highlight the target business, target industry. This one's always been kind of like. That one, they're fabricating something, but the one that just shows, hey, they're moving some water main pipes around.
I think this one is more representative here.
I think barring cosmetics, with the footage and updating some of the pictures, which I know most a lot of them are placeholders right now, ready for content, the overall layout of it is an improvement.
Yeah, I do. I think it is an improvement.
Yeah, I really think that, like you said, updating the pictures that would give a real sense, instead of even like the strip mall, maybe that's a picture of Kearney's or next door. Or I think the town hall is a good representation of, the feel of Sunnyvale too. Some pictures of horses would be.
But Patty, what?
So these are the ones that people are coming.
That's
This is-
Dallas EDC website.
If you look at some of the cities in California, the way they've done it, I think even Dallas has done it. Is when people come in from the angle of coming and trying to establish a business, they're looking for certain things, right? I want to understand how's the public-private partnership here. I want to understand what are the incentives and plans that are available for me to cash them on. I should be able to get all of that information in a very short period of time. Now I'm going to do a briefer and pick up the phone and call you. If I don't have all of that, I'm not going to call you to sit down and have a conversation, right? So we've got to kind of provide some things right there in the front screen. With one or two drill downs, I get an idea of what we are trying to sell and create. Right? See, and look at the way they keep it very dynamic, right? That screen keeps changing and flashes things that go through, which is a very healthy way to do it, especially when you are looking at a website with yourself, which is what we do 80% of the time.
I could probably add a scroller. I mean, we did that on our foundation's website recently. And ours is on one of those. basic
It's just a
press
loop.
sort of setups.
And that's what I said. We're looking at that software if we're gonna try to do it ourselves or if we're gonna have someone do it.
But it's presented a different way. Right? Now, if I come here and I go public-private partnership, I'm gonna click right there. Boom, I'm into that because that's what I'm looking for with my choice with the city. Right? And I'm looking for certain incentives.
I think part of the problem that we had is originally when we were browsing websites, there was, a lot of nice ones out there. When we got the estimates for those types of sites, they were upward of over 30 grand versus the 85.
Yeah, those were the ones that were doing the copywriting and then annually they had 15 to $20,000 annually. Those are the ones where they sat down with you each month and said, what do you want your focus to be this month? And we're going to write content and we're going to do social media posts that drive traffic towards your website.
I think there's value in that in you.
Good. If we're gonna do this, to me, I think, you have that promotion budget, you had some money. We should probably take, because these are things that make people feel they're connected more with the community. Especially if you're coming in to put a business here, there are 10 questions that everybody would want answers for, right? So I don't know if there's a way we could put some funding out of that promotion
Well, I
funds
mean,
that we have and allocate to doing the design.
looking at this, I mean, it really, like, the layout is not so different from ours. It looks very similar to a lot of website setups. And like you said, if you just did a scroller at the top of ours, which they should be able to do. I mean, I think you'd want them to put in the scroller and then you would just be able to update the image just like you would if it were static. But
I
then you
know, I
can
think-
pull
I think-
those.
An important point you're missing is if you scroll up a little bit. See, when I go in there, it says start, go, work.
Well, that's what I was
Right.
gonna say is that,
And boom, I can click what I want. I don't have to.
Right.
You know,
but that you could pull from your drop down menus on the top of ours and add in a section that has them here as well, that where they could be.
So these are placeholders right here. I mean, this section of our site this section can be
Yeah.
like that. Like I said, these are just placeholders that, the feedback we got before was we wanted the social media feeds at the bottom. We wanted our target industries here. As you can see here, it's got placeholders for some content. This can be clickable. There's a testimonial if we want to have that section from a developer that we've worked with. And then any of these, I can go, if you all like this look here, I can go back to them and say, we want some of these elements.
But you're saying, like, instead of them having to pull the drop down, that you want those sort of menus
yeah, that whole
immediately.
idea of drop down, that is gone. It should be very interactive for me to look and then pick what I want because 80% of the time I'm going to touch, right? So I should be able to have something like this that drops down and then very intelligently we pick. Now, when I drill into it, it can take me 2 levels down, but that's my choice whether I want to spend time there or not, right? When I go to the first drop-down screen, I should be able to get what I want out of it, right? So it's just a clever layout. You provide all the details, but you just let it drill down. And depending on my needs, I will drill as deep as I want, correct?
Their website has the old school technique at the top.
Yeah, but if I'm using my phone, I'm gonna be going right here, right? I'm not even looking at that. That's what it is. That's what they've done.
So is that middle part of the webpage pretty configurable? So you can,
See, now, I like this strip you have here, right? Take, good one, 25 minutes, 1.4. Wow, that's a lot of universities.
Some of it may be placeholder. All right, so
Again, it's just a thought.
It's an improvement. Than working in the budget you had.
They could add that without.
what was, I'm sorry, what was that?
I think that they could add something like this without it being, I know I'm pointing at something you can't see, sorry. Something like that, without it
Okay.
being too much more work for them.
Well, and I can go to them now that I've got this to show them. We can go to them and see what they come
The
back
other
with.
one to play is you see there's a flashing part of the screen where they have a theme, and if I want to draw, I would go. So see, promote and boost economic development, learn more, live, work, play, learn more. So it's grouped into what I want to communicate, right? So I don't have to go through this, promote and boost economic development. I'll go right there to see the highlights of what I can get from the city if I decided to relocate the business, right? That kind of stuff.
All right, anything else?
I think it's
Better?
definitely an improvement, but I think what you saying is a little more dynamic, maybe a little bit more intuitive, and it looks like you've got enough placeholders where you've got plenty of room to play around with it.
Okay.
Talked about it before. We've never redone our website. It's said, they did their website, make them cohesive and they need to have separate things. Moving forward by a few decades on the town's website. We work together and invest in it to get it up to that. This is already better than the town's website. Drill down to get facts out.
Town's website feels like a government website.
Right.
what kind of, do we all agree? Is there an agreement on the type of businesses that we want to attract in this town? Do we have an agreement?
If you go down the. Priorities listed out, destination development. That came out of the last.
So when you go to hospitality and tourism, are we talking about opening up hotels here? What do we do?
There has been talk of that, yes. So when you guys came on board, did you get a copy of the strategic plan?
Yeah, I got a copy, but we had discussions and there was a lot of confusion about the type of businesses we can focus on. And I don't think we had a second round of discussion. Right? The
So
light industry is very broad. Right? It is very broad, right? Yeah.
these were the target industries in that work session back in October.
Yeah, yeah.
But these are the types of things that,
But that was a work session we had in this room with the city with the council members and nothing conclusive was drawn other than discussions, right?
Right.
The reason I'm saying that is because if business are looking to house in a city, that city needs to be specialized and focused in supporting that area of business. So we can go in here and say we want to attract companies that are into software development for electronic components. You got to have certain things we need to provide to draw them, and certain incentives have to be provided because those incentives vary depending on the type of businesses and what they're looking for, right? So if we want to put a website, we got to be very clear in terms of what are the target industries that we are going after, and then creative incentive opportunities for people that those industry players would be attracted to. Now you're going to see some good effects coming through. Right? Because we don't have a definition in this city if you're going to draw businesses, what kind of businesses you're going to do. Because these are very broad, right? Corporate headquarters and regional offices, right? Why would I put it in Sunnyvale when I could get, depending on my type of business, Dallas City may be, downtown may be a better opportunity for me. Why would I bring the corporate headquarters here, right? So we got to have a theme around it. Now, what type of corporate headquarters are we bringing? Are we bringing financial institutions? Are we, so I think we got to get a little bit more focused, which will help us to draw the right businesses here, right? If it's broad like this, people will scan through and move on, right? They're not going to drill down and make the phone call and ask questions.
I think these are the types of discussions that need to happen during the strategic plan update, because
I've tried to have this conversation even with the mayor, right? And I never got an answer about what are we going to do in terms of attracting right businesses to increase our tax base. I'm confused about what is the, what are we going to do from a business growth standpoint? I have full great feel for all the parks and all the other projects that we do. But in terms of business, I don't think we have a clear definition.
So right now, when you get back to that, you see light industrial. Sunnyvale historically has been light industrial, the other side of Eden, south of Stone Peak. Beltline Road.
Mhm.
And that was it, the economics. The rest is farmland, rangeland, and rapidly growing suburb community.
Yeah.
So over time, it shifted from light industrial, and then all the retail demand started. Demand for a few years ago after it moved here, the number one thing on the list was a grocery store for economic development.
Which
Everybody wants a grocery store, but it doesn't.
so speaking about that, at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon on last Wednesday, I didn't see anybody else there, but Derek gave a kind of an update on his projects that he's working on. And when they started the project over at Gateway Park, which is the athletic club, they reached out to the 12 primary grocery folks. And the short version is that we're about 4,000 residents, 4,000 people short before any of those major folks would be interested in coming here. But as far as this is the most recent, this is town council strategic plan for this upcoming year. It's on the website. When we talk about businesses and what we're looking to attract and things of that nature, as you all know, the vision is the same. We just recently went through that, where our vision statements are the same now, whereas they were different. But this is one of their goals, preserving the character of a rural community. Let me find the place that I'm looking for. I'm just gonna scroll through here.
Say that was the economic development of Sunnyvale. I think late 2013, developing thing because there wasn't one target audience, you know, it wasn't like Richardson used to be the telecom corridor. You know, they morphed from the telecom corridor to the insurance / telecom, and then the data center. So they balanced out their economic funding that came into the town. So Derek's group started with this. Lots of small projects going on, but it's been his team and others are working to mimic this over where the athletic facility is going to go. That falls under tourism and hospitality. So there's talk of potential hotel there, potential hotel out on 80. But one of the problems we've always run into is when you start talking corporate headquarters and all that kind of stuff, we don't own any land. So it makes it hard to people that own the largest tracts of land for the most part in Sunnyvale have stayed silent. They're just sitting on their land. So we're all talking about what we want on somebody else's land that we think is going to benefit the community.
Well, and I think we've also, we focused a lot on providing, you know, when I moved here, there were just a couple of restaurants like Tino's down there. And so we focused on trying to get restaurants and amenities like that for the town, but trying to encourage ones that are more unique instead of cookie cutter or chain, you know, something that you could go down and exit and find the same thing. We haven't always been successful in that, but I think Kearney's is an example, and Hope Coffee and Settlers Table. Those were the types of things that we were wanting to encourage in the area. And also venues like the Barn, which was going to be the wedding venue, which is now
The story.
the Story. So we have tried to focus on those, but again, we run into what Eric was saying, that we don't own the land, so we have limited, and then the owners of the land have limited interest in working with us because they have their own plans on it.
A lot of the land doesn't have infrastructure either.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Coming back to Richardson, the Bass family owned all that land up there, the Hunts Bass there that was being developed. And so they worked closely with the EDC to say, we're parked on this for this many years, but the right project comes along, and we'll work with you. We don't have that right now, other than little pocket places. We don't have it in the park.
I mean, if we want to keep this rural theme and build big around it, I think there are a lot of opportunities in the forestry area, agricultural area, handloom industries, a lot of them that kind of bring that fit with the character of the rural community that we want, right? So now you go and target, here's the area, and these are the kind of industries we want to go. So when I come into the website or when I have discussions, I get all the information there, right? And especially if you're looking at organic farming and agriculture, there's a lot of government incentives that are available at the federal level. I think if we create something here that ties in by giving access to all of that information, it's a natural attraction for people, because those business owners will say, my God, this city understands what I'm trying to do. So now you bring targeted people in and you maintain the culture of the community that we want to create, right? I think a little bit more discussion needs to take place, because I have a sense that we talk about a rural community, but we're trying to bring hotel chains in here and things like that. That doesn't blend well, right? But there are so many businesses that fit with rural community. And if we do that, then we create an identity that is different. And the big selling point is some of those industries would have access to Dallas downtown just like that, which is where there's going to be some huge buildup of financial capital required.
We can talk about it too, but we have to get town council on
Oh,
board.
absolutely. I've had a conversation with the mayor about this, right? But I don't know where to go.
I mean, I think that the Glacier property is a good example. I mean, we on 4B had a vision and we're willing to pay for it and, but then town council, often does not agree with what we want to do. So we don't want to spend a lot of time. We need to meet with them, try to come up with a consensus, but it's definitely easier said than done.
Saying that
Mm.
for the website, we need better data. And part of that data is size plan.
Yep.
A list of things that everybody. wants.
I mean, I'm
A
new
little
to
more
this. I don't know
specific.
where to start.
It was interesting, we had the presentation of the retail. And there was also there had to be cautious not to become too specific.
Mhm.
You had to, you could omit certain things, but you couldn't call out certain things. Or something, but it's like, what else are you doing? You're trying to attract what you want to attract.
I mean, everybody, I think we all kind of have the same vision of what we want for Sunnyvale, but then to get everybody else to agree, and you were at the meeting where everybody's putting stuff up for hotels and, it's all over the place. But there's something to be said about keeping it a bit broad until there's an actual set target group, or can there be, because like to his point, we don't own any of the land. So what do you do when you get them?
Yeah, I mean, I spend a considerable amount of time researching who the broker is, trying to find out what the development's looking for a tenant. And we have to take into consideration what the zoning is, what's allowable by right versus what needs to have a SUD, SUP, and what process all that goes through. We can, a lot of the drill down due diligence information are things that myself and Philip, our town planner, when someone calls us, we try to find out all the ins and outs, find out about their project, give them some guidance as to what's allowable versus what's not. And our experience has been if it's just like the businesses that we do see that are coming in, they know that they know that they're interested in coming here before they ever even contact us. So is there anything else on this side that y'all want to see before I stop this?
Improvement, but I like the recommendations.
Do you have a timeline on this or you just working?
It's a work in progress. So the content, at this point, I'm just kind of, we're migrating things from the old website. I'm going in, I'm trying to clean some of the content up, make it relevant. But with everything else that's going on, it takes time to write copy. So.
Reviewing it, providing recommendations.
Yeah, it just depends on how long it takes. If we go back to, if we're going to try to make it look more like that other site, because we've been trying to make it look like a different site that wasn't that one.
From North Texas. Slowing slightly, but North Texas isn't slowing. process. We have to budget based on last year's budget, but as things continue to grow. Your staff can grow, the town staff can grow.
You know that today Caterpillar announced they're moving
Yeah,
their
moving to Irving.
headquarters to Irving, from Chicago, from Illinois, yeah, from Blooming, from Peoria to Irving. That is,
Take over Exxon.
I mean, that's big move. That's big move for that. Huge.
No action to be taken on that. Skip the hit.
One thing I was gonna ask y'all is about the July meeting. The July meeting, if we're meeting in July or if we're not,
Yeah, I'm out of town, so I won't be there. Mhm.
what was that? Yeah, the way y'all worded it, it's pending town council approval, so, you know, if there's any major, when will they take, they won't take action till September.
I know that we want to open here.
They won't vote to approve it and adopt it until September, but we are starting those meetings with council to start, you know, looking at the different funds and do presentations for them to review. There's still just a lot of information that the town is waiting for, you know, property values is a big thing. And, you know, setting the tax rate is another big thing. And so we're not at that point yet. We're ready to have those discussions, but we are going to start taking, you know, some of it, you know, to the council. We have a budget retreat. That's not actually until July next month.
I mean, if there's anything major that changes between tonight and August, we can certainly let y'all know in August when we meet again.
A second.
Which one was it? Are we going Anthony on that?